Nigeria. The leadership of Labour Party watched as the sacred fabric of justice and good conscience was shredded today at the Supreme Court as it delivers its verdict in the case between our party, the presidential candidate, and the APC presidential candidate. We are indeed very shocked and surprised that even the apex court will toe the line of an earlier judgment in spite of all the flaws associated with the judgment delivered by the Presidential Election Appeal Tribunal. Having conclusively exercised our fundamental rights as gifted to us by the laws of the land, we have no other choice but to move on. We may be disappointed and dismayed by the outcome of the exercise, but we have chosen to trudge on and to remain optimistic of what the future holds for the nation. We weep for our institutions that cannot rise to the occasion and courageously defend democracy and the voices of the people. However, there are great lessons to be learned. What transpired in Nigeria since February 25th presidential election is a clear testament that our institutions are not working and that we may be sliding towards dictatorship. It is very clear that the executive and the judiciary have all been hijacked. This is so unfortunate for our democracy, and it is even more for the people of Nigeria. All what our forebearers taught us has been destroyed within a short space of time because of unbridled ambition of the few. The founding fathers fought with their lives to achieve independence for the country. People lost their lives for the struggle to keep our democracy. And all these years, people have been struggling to achieve electoral and constitutional reforms. Regrettably, all these efforts and struggles have been destroyed today. It is also pertinent to put on record that we have it on very good authority that the government have marked some Labour Party key leaders, myself especially, and our leader, our presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi in particular, for vilification in order to suppress the party, suffocate our team, and our goal of a new Nigeria. The planned persecution, intimidation, suppression, and harassment of our leaders using security agencies and all other government institutions will definitely be defended. We therefore call on all our members and the obedient family to be vigilant and brace up for the challenges ahead. The struggle for a new Nigeria will certainly be tortuous and hard. We are also calling on the international community to rise to the occasion to defend democracy in Nigeria. Your voices were loud and clear in condemnation of the outcome of the presidential election. As we approach the next stage of our democratic journey, we call on you to stand by the millions of Nigerians who are already pushed beyond their limits into unnecessary hardship, poverty, and penury. Finally, we urge Nigerians not to lose hope in our country. Though we are paying a huge price to achieve a Nigeria of our desire, we are hopeful that we'll get to our destination someday, because where there is a will, certainly there will be a way. A new Nigeria, we believe, is still possible. Thank you, and God bless you this afternoon.
So that's the speech from the leadership of Labour Party, and I don't know if there's any clarification or questions that you may want to ask, whatever, so that the national chairman is here to don't break.
Yes, my name is Lucky Isawobi. I work for Channels Television. You said some party officials, including your presidential candidate, have been marked for vilification.
Yes.
Do you have any evidence to substantiate this allegation?
Well, as at now, that's why I said don't confirm report has it. That is the plan. And there may be no evidence, but we have it on good authority.
AIT.
Chairman, the question I need to ask you is that moving forward from now, so what is the party going to be building on? You said that the new Nigerian is still possible. So with this very outcome or the verdict of the Supreme Court, you know that you have a splinter group of this very big party that have been fighting the party. The party have alleged that they are from the ruling party, APC. So, do you think that this one will lay their own fights to rest?
Well, I will take inspiration from what Nelson Mandela said in his book, A Long Walk to Freedom, that every step we take leads us to our freedom. I honestly believe that the struggle for a new Nigeria has just begun, and even the judgment of today is a step towards reclaiming Nigeria. It's a step towards a new Nigeria. Obviously, we will not rest on our oars until that feat is achieved. We will remain resolute, we will remain focused, we will continue the struggle, obviously, must continue, irrespective of the distraction. And I want to say categorically, no amount of people sponsored to distract us that will stop us from expanding our party in terms of membership, in terms of our ideology, propagating it, and so on and so forth. We are going to continue the struggle. We are going to continue to expand the party. We are going to continue to struggle for what we believe in until a new Nigeria is possible. Today, I must state categorically that Nigerians are suffering in the midst of plenty. People have taken power, and the lives of the people have not improved. Today, a dollar is sold for almost 1,500 naira. As we speak today, petroleum product, fuel precisely, is sold for almost 800 naira per liter. People are hungry, people are not in school, Nigerians are out of school. Inflation, as we speak, by December, by figures given by government agencies, will soon hit over 30% rate of inflation. And so you can see that it's not taking power that matters. It is what you do with power. They have taken over government, but yet the standard of Nigerians have continued to deteriorate. So we are here, we are down, and we fear no fall. We'll be focused, we'll remain, we'll stand on the part of Nigerians, the many millions of Nigerians who supported us, who voted for us, which mandate has been stolen. We'll continue to stand for them. We'll continue to remain their voice. We'll continue to speak. We'll continue to defend them. We'll be on the street with them. We stand by them. Come rain, come sunshine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Are you disturbed that by virtue of this judgment, members of your party at the National Assembly will leave?
Well, I'm not disturbed that our members in the National Assembly will leave, because I believe strongly that they appreciate the circumstances that brought them to office. They were the products of that struggle. They have become the symbol of the struggle for a new Nigeria. And I expect that they must stand firm, stand committed to that very vision, to that struggle till it is actualized. So I do not believe that any lawmaker who is in the House on the platform of the party will leave the party. They have become the champions and the symbol of this struggle. And I want to believe that they are committed to it and they will remain. However, whatever plays out, we are here and they will remain as a party. I will continue with the ideology of our party.
All right.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. In your speech, you said and I quote, "It is very clear that the executive has hijacked both the judiciary and the legislature." I'm wondering what informed that process, that thought process, and if the Supreme Court judgment had ruled in favor of the Labour Party, would you still hold this motion?
No, obviously, I wouldn't hold that impression. They didn't rule in the favor of the party. That and very many other reasons is why we have come to that conclusion that obviously the previous judgment and all these and the judgment of today didn't meet the expectations of Nigerians and the expectation of the party. And that's why we have come to that conclusion that to appear as if both the arms of government have been hijacked.
That will be. You still want to ask me?
Yes, sir. Now that the case has been finally settled by the Supreme Court, what should Nigerians expect from Labour Party in terms of playing the role of opposition parties? Because a lot of times you find out that after this kind of event, the so-called opposition parties, instead of becoming opposition parties, they begin to patronize the government, starting from the leadership of the party.
Obviously, without pondering over the question, I want to answer categorically that we will not partner with the government. We are going to stand and play the role of opposition. Awolowo said it very clearly, that the soul of democracy is opposition. And part of the reasons why we have crisis in our country is because before now, we've not had credible, viable, and vibrant opposition political party. So we'll be glad, very, very glad, to play the role of opposition. And I want to challenge the government that they should be on their feet and be ready.
Thank you so much.
So what's your reaction to this judgment? Were you surprised that the Supreme Court affirmed Bola Tinubu as president of Nigeria?
Well, one can say that the judgment of the Supreme Court may have clothed his presidency with constitutionality, because Section 235 made it clear of the Constitution that the decision of the Supreme Court is final, but it has not clothed his presidency with democracy, because democracy means the rule of the people, and it means that power must proceed only from the people. And let me tell you what the Supreme Court said that is very telling. Justice John Inyango Koro, while delivering JSC, while delivering the judgment, he looked right to his colleagues and looked left. He said, let us admit that the non-uploading of the result on the IREF portal reduced the confidence of the people in the election.
Reduced, but didn't eliminate it.
Good. That is how the judges talk. Reduced means it wasn't as credible as it would have been if the law was obeyed that said you should upload on the IREF portal for the people to view. And this is in line with all the decisions of the international and local observers.
But not so lacking in credibility that it made them decide that they were going to go against the decision of the lower court.
What they said was, look, the only result we have is the one presented by INEC. We do not have alternative result presented to counter it. Now, let me tell you the implication of that. In mathematics, I did mathematics and I did advanced level mathematics. If you're given a mathematical question and you go straight to quote the answer, they will probably say you stole the answer. You must start with quoting the formula and giving the
statements. Statistics.
Good.
You've got to have the formula
before you give the answer.
Yeah.
You know what INEC did? They simply came and quoted an answer that somebody won the election against the express position of the Act. The Act said you have to compile, update, and maintain, polling unit by polling unit, all the results. And you must be ready to show it to any person or political party that demands it. And that is when you would now pronounce a winner. And I'm talking about Section 62, subsection 2 and 3 of the Electoral Act. INEC did not They just woke up one day at the dead of the night, 4:30 a.m., and declared an answer, which we did not know the formula or the statements that they arrived at to get that answer. So how can you tell the petitioners to produce polling unit by polling unit the result to prove their election, where the institution that is bestowed by the power, giving 400 billion naira to do that, failed to do it? And then you're asking, where will we get it from? The credibility of this election will forever be tarnished. And I agree with the Supreme Court that the confidence of the Nigerian people in this election was reduced. And for me, it was destroyed.
But can you, strictly from a legal point of view, do you broadly accept and respect the reasoning of the court in reaching its decision?
The court gives decision issue by issue. If you give me the question issue by issue, I will give you the answer issue by issue. But like I said, the Supreme Court is clothed with the cloak of finality. I disagree with their judgment, but I accept it as a Democrat.
Well, let's go through some of the points that Justice Okoro raised. I mean, what is your assessment? I know you've touched on it briefly, but let's kind of go more pointedly into it. What is your assessment of his pronouncement on the IREV and electronic transmission of results? Because he seemed to have decided that it is not the ultimate method of collation.
Good. And that is where, with respect to the Supreme Court, they got that all wrong. And I'm talking about the law, not my opinion. The Supreme Court was romancing paragraph 93 of the regulations and guidelines of the conduct of election by INEC. Thank God, by even mentioning the paragraph 93, they have agreed that subsidiary legislation is part of our laws. Now, paragraph 93 is not even applicable to this petition at all. Paragraph 93 is in a case where there is no hard copy of Form EC8A. What you would do in a case where there is no hard copy of Form EC8A. It is not the case of the petitioners that there was no hard copy of Form EC8A. So the Supreme Court, even relying on 93, is even wrong. It does not even apply. But let me tell you what they did that brought the whole contradiction. Supreme Court was saying that uploading on IREV was not mandatory. Good. Even by the paragraph 93 they quoted. Paragraph 93 said, if Form EC8A is not there, you use the result electronically transmitted and you use the result uploaded on IREV to declare the result. So if the law does not mandate the uploading of result on IREV, where would you see it to use? This is by the paragraph 93, which they love so much, which is not applicable because it is not the paragraph that is responsible for collation. The paragraph that is responsible for collation is paragraph 48, A and B. I am surprised the Supreme Court did not even mention it at all. Let me tell you what it said. It said there shall be collation only when the collation officer confirms the veracity of the result in the beavers of the accredited voters and confirms, I'm talking about B now, of 48, of the number of votes that is transmitted electronically into the system. That if the collation officer does not have it to confirm, to verify, there shall be no collation. This is by paragraph 48AB. Meanwhile, paragraph 38I and II said INEC must electronically transfer and transmit using beavers to the electronic system. And you do a scan copy of the result and upload it on IREV. These are two different things. Transmitting to the INEC server or whatever you call it and uploading on IREV. These are two different things. Stated in paragraph 38, I and II. Let me tell you something. Supreme Court talked about section 60, which talks about transfer. they did not mention anything about Section 64. And Section 64 is the section that deals with collation. And I'm talking about the Electoral Act. And Section 64, 4AB, made it clear. The collation officer shall collect result and announce it, subject to his or her verification of the manual result with the result in BVAS and with the results electronically transmitted. I'm talking about Section 64, 4A and B. Supreme Court did not mention it. So how can you be mentioning sections that has nothing to do with collation? And then you're telling us that it is not in accordance with the law.
Well, you sound like you make a convincing argument. Maybe you should have been the lead lawyer for the Labour Party making that argument, because in terms of the submission,
Yes.
which of course includes your party, the Labour Party, the petitioner's submission, I mean, with regard, for instance, to malpractices at polling units, I mean, the court said it didn't see the facts from the petitioners, only what appeared to be anecdotal evidence. I mean, did you get a sense of clarity there? Because you have to wonder, I mean, in a court, as you well know, it's about evidence and the quality of your arguments to support that evidence. I mean, do you think the Labour Party's sort of legal team perhaps fell short?
Well, we have very brilliant lawyers. I respect them very passionately. They put in their best. But when it comes to
their
issue,
best clearly wasn't good enough.
it was good enough. But according to the realist school of jurisprudence, whatever the judges say is the law becomes the law, irrespective of whatever you do as a lawyer.
It's a dictatorship, is it?
So, but you know, I was talking about the collation, because our problem in this country is not people going to vote. It's what happens at the collation centers. The whole idea of the electronic transmission is not about free fair. It is about credible election. It is to check the malpractice that goes on in the collation. Good. Now, you know, collations are at different levels. You have the ward level, you have the local government level, you have the state level, you have the federal government level. Do you know, INEC made provision for electronic transfer for each level. So INEC said when you finish the election at the polling unit, you transmit from the polling unit in real time using BVAS. And then you will carry the form EC8A and the BVAS, and I'm talking about paragraph 38, III. You carry these two to the collation center, that's the first ward center. And the collation officer must compare the two results. And I'm talking about paragraph 50V. And when they finish comparing and collating, they transmit electronically from the collation center. And I'm talking about 50XX, with which the next collation level will use to collate. And when they transmit at the local government level, when they finish, and I'm talking about paragraph 53, XII, they will still transmit electronically to guide the one in the state. And I'm talking about 54, XII, paragraphs, regulations, INEC wrote as subsidiary legislation. I'm surprised the Supreme Court did not see all this.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it sounds sort of, for the ordinary person on the street, I mean, you are obviously a legal expert. It sounds monstrously complicated, but let's go let's go to the issues that appear to be more straightforward. For example, the issue of the Federal Capital Territory of Abuja. They adopted the position of the Election Petitions Tribunal that Abuja has no special status. What is your reaction to that?
The interpretation of the Constitution is the sole prerogative of the court.
So you agree with their interpretation then?
Whether I agree or not is not the issue. This is now the position of the law. And like I said, you can't take the power away from them. It is the power the Constitution has given to them.
Right.
They say, after reading this, this is our interpretation. Prior to this, such a situation has not arisen in practical terms in any election. This is the first time that a presidential candidate will be so unpopular that he did not win 25% in the FCT. That's why I said you may have had a constitutional government, but not a democratic one.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That is their interpretation, and I respect it.
And just to confirm that in terms of some consolation to be taken away from that judgment by the opposition parties, they did say, and you confirmed that not uploading the result electronically reduced the confidence of Nigerians.
And that implicitly means there was no credibility in it. In the eyes of the people.
It doesn't mean that there was it means that...
Can you interpret it?
Well, I don't want to get into the verbiage, but it just means that there perhaps could have been more confidence rather than less.
Well, at least what you said is there was less.
Yeah,
from your interpretation.
But it depends on how you quantify
in
less.
Society,
you see what I mean?
Professor Mahmoud
That's really
resign by that statement from the Supreme Court.
Yes, you could make that argument.
No, I have been making it. And thank God the Supreme Court has
you could certainly make that argument.
That you did not do what you ought to have done to get the credibility of this election and make it convincing to the people. And after spending this humongous amount, my own opinion respectfully is that he should step down.
So what's the next move for the Labour Party? Is it now to look towards 2027? Because, I mean, Peter Obi still commands a very large, almost fanatical following with the obedience. I mean, clearly he's still got a political future.
So before moving to the next level, will it surprise you to hear that Supreme Court did not make any determination at all on our issue 4? Which is about the forfeiture of $460,000 by the second respondent, which is Bola Tinubu, for the proceeds of narcotics and money laundering, which was imposed on him. In contrariness to Section 137(1)(d) of the Constitution, the Supreme Court did not make any pronouncement on it. They did not say anything about the issue. So wouldn't it be right for me to say the judgment is either incomplete or incomprehensive? Because the law is that the court is under a duty to pronounce on every issue brought to it by any petitioner or by a party. I did not hear it. I did not know the reason.
Right. But clearly they've delivered their judgment. And as you conceded, it's a final judgment.
That is exactly what I'm saying, that I accept as a Democrat, but I disagree.
No, I understand that, but what I'm asking you now is, what's the next move for the Labour Party?
My principal, Peter Obi, will always be my mentor. You can imagine a man that came in, shook the system, moved gloriously in. Until today, nobody has said anything that dented his image in character, in capacity, and incompetence. That is the people's leader. So he has the brightest future. And when he calls us and tells us what the future is, then we will follow accordingly.
But moving forward, would you, in the Labour Party and perhaps as an individual, are you prepared to work with President Tinubu, or is that going to be hard, given that he's someone you've been very critical of?
I just told you I have a mentor.
Well, you can have more than one mentor.
Well,
or more than one boss.
When I have more than one boss, I'll let you know. So for now, I give him the privilege to determine the next line of action.
Well, what about your members? I mean, do you expect the elected ones to possibly start defecting? I mean, lawmakers, for instance, who feel the pressure of your loss in the National Assembly? I mean, we've seen that happen with losing parties in the past. Or do you think that the Labour Party has an ideology that binds them together and they've forged their politics in it?
Let me concede that a whole lot of people are in politics for different reasons. Some people are there to make the money. Some people are there to make the power. Some people are there to make the people. I belong to that category that entered politics to make the people, because the greatness I enjoy today is from the love of people. I cannot say the same thing with people whose intention is to make money or to make power. Whatever party they belong to, their drive will always be, where is their bread buttered? And so you should expect anything to happen. And until it happens, you would have to make me God for me to know the intent of man, which I am not.
Well, I certainly will not attempt to make you
God bless you.
But